It's been a journey to say the least. My last name, Horacek, means Little Mountain. I mean, I just taught myself how to screen print. You know, go at it, take a risk. You never know what's gonna happen. Like, look at me. Like, I'm just a dude doing a thing, man. I mean, everything here is all done in-house. Like, one of my favorite designs I did, and honestly, I was like really hesitant to even put it out there. I mean, honestly, I can't see myself ever really doing anything else. It's been a journey to say the least. I mean, honestly, I can't see myself ever really doing anything else or really, working for anyone else. And I don't know. I've always kind of had that like drive to kind of really always push myself, explore, new ideas and just keep myself in the world of creativity. And I don't know. Little Mountain started basically in my parents' basement in like 2010. My last name, Horacek, means Little Mountain. Kind of a cool, fun story. Like, yeah, I was in debt, didn't really know what to do. I knew I wanted to be in the art and design. It kind of started as like freelance art and design, and then I kind of taught myself how to screen print. But I don't know. I kind of wanted to. I just really loved the process of going from like concepts and ideas to burning them into like an actual tangible screen or and then throwing them on like an actual t-shirt. And really I guess I use t-shirts as kind of a canvas for that art. And and I don't know, I've always been drawn to kind of the human touch, organic kind of imperfections, which like Handlebend, that's what Handlebend's about. Like I can see that from afar, and I can see that pretty quick. And you put that human touch and human quality into your product or service or an art, then I mean people are gonna draw to it pretty quick. And I don't know, just trying to be real and transparent, and I don't know who I am as a person, but also how that mirrors with like the brand identity too. So I don't know, like it's an interesting combination, and I've 13 years going into it, so which blows my mind. I don't know, but yeah, it's been fun. I always kind of I'm always drawing, always sketching. I've got more ideas than I do time and energy. So I think, that's a good thing. And yeah, I don't know. Really just drawn to uh, that personal touch in a brand and a product. So
We were talking, Matt, my business partner, and I here a couple weeks ago. There was a couple articles that had come out, and they were regarding the name's losing me, the AI content generators and stuff like that are kind of, they're in the news and they're kind of in the hot spot, and it's new technology that people are starting to lean into and use. And we were just talking about that, and it's I would imagine being in the the photography business, or being a copywriter for a company or those kind of things, could be a little bit scary as to the uncertainty of those career and skill sets. Not necessarily the career path, but the skill sets themselves with this technology that can generate that stuff. And I've spent a little bit of time thinking about it, and I think exactly what you're saying. The human touch will be missing, and that technology will continue to evolve and mimic it better and better. But I think as humans, you mentioned it, that you're drawn to a brand or a product or art that has those imperfections and has that human quality at the core of its production. And I think that's going to be the insurance policy for artists and writers, because you can't duplicate that kind of that human spirit that is an integral piece of, I think, art and music and writing and just the translation of our thought processes,
Oh, absolutely. And being able to be creative, and I mean, being creative, it's you can't be creative 100% of the time either, too, and but you gotta, be able to, I don't know, recognize it when that time and moment comes, and you kind of learn through. I don't know. I don't know if like failing is the right word, but trial and error, and um, you know, uh, yeah, like just having that, um, yeah, that transparent, realness about who you are and how you go about the brand is, I don't know, a big deal. And I don't know, I've had a lot of people ask me, well, um, along the lines of like, well, would you like to see Little Mountain grow in any way and in any sense? And I think a lot of people's initial thought is, let's growth equals employees or services or more product or bigger machines or fill in the blank. But I see myself, or I see growth in the brand as um, creating and cultivating, within the brand, and you know, using art as kind of the priority and platform. Um, I mean, I love working with a lot of businesses and people of walks in life, and that you know sparks a ton of creativity and new ideas and concepts, and um, so I don't know, kind of balancing those two things, and learning what growth is and where do you find that reward in, and like I don't know, I've kind of, I don't know, to sum it up, that yeah, I've learned to find reward in the entire process of that. So I don't know, there's a time to grind, work 70 hours a week. Then there's a time to, I don't know, I love traveling, and I feel like that's a way to kind of remove yourself, refresh. I call, like I just got back from Key West, Florida. I call it a creative retreat. Went down there, drew a few pictures, and I don't know, studied kind of that you know part of the world a little bit while also having a little fun. Like I kind of need that, like freedom to be able to kind of do a little bit of both and in between. So
Well, and there's a lot to be said. First of all, on your growth, there is a very real growth that can happen that's not, you can't put a numerical value on it. It's not just volume. It's that kind of introspective personal growth that happens within a company or within yourself that doesn't necessarily equate to math on a spreadsheet or whatever. But then you just talk about that trip you took and the creative process, and creativity it's not on all the time, and there are times where there's no inspiration necessarily, or it's hard to get the wheels turning. And so, like you said, to be able to kind of recognize when that is working, and then you have to be able to harness that, right? Like, just because you have the inspiration, until you can harness that and get it out into something that in your world is like a drawing or a design concept, and then you can bring it full circle, like then it becomes creative. But while it's just this idea in your head, like if you just keep eating your burger and take a nap and then don't do anything about it, well, now it's gone, and then that, like, I think that creative process starts by just inspiration in itself. Like you said, you go down to Key West and spend a week. Like, you got to have experiences. You have to, because that's what all of our creativity is, kind of starts with, is those experiences and your perception of them while you are in the moment. And that just takes time. There's no way to expedite that. You just got to kind of live your life and keep your eyes open. And then, like you said, recognize that creativity when it starts to churn a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Because how long have you been doing Handlebend?
So 2017 is when we launched officially, on the website. Before that, we were building mugs, just for personal friends and family and stuff for, birthdays or special events, weddings, and those kinds of things. And we had done that since college, which we graduated college in 2008. So spent a good handful of time, just kind of doing it as a hobby, just very periodically throughout the year. And then, 2017 in the fall is when we had kind of started listening to our feedback and took the risk of building a website and starting a business. So,
Yeah, I
been
mean
kind of a
it's
wild ride.
oh I believe it, man. Like it's kind of cool seeing from afar. I want to go up there sometime, and I mean obviously the St. Patty's Day is coming up, and
Yeah.
Amber was kind of telling me that's kind of the I don't know, the Super Bowl of O'Neill, and yeah, it's I think that'd be super dope to drive up there. My girlfriend Summer, she actually knows you. I think she, I don't know, you state like childhood of some sort, and knew her mom, like her mom or something like that.
Yeah, so they were her mom was my babysitter growing up. We lived in North Norfolk, and before we moved out to O'Neill here when I was a sixth grader. So, spent a lot of time with Summer and her family when we were kids. So she was just a little. Well, I mean, I was little, but I was probably between kindergarten and fifth grade. But she was very little. She was a toddler when I first knew her.
That is funny, dude. That I mean, that in a whole is like not only like Lincoln and Omaha, but Nebraska. I mean, it's so connected, and I think that's what's kind of fun and exciting about Nebraska is the people that. I mean, we may not have like the large population, but there's definitely a creative like group of people, small businesses, entrepreneurs in Nebraska, and I mean, dude, like they're not hard to find. You mentioned one or two names, and well, now you're taking a trip down the rabbit hole of everyone you guys know and meet and been to, and like I don't know. Speaking on Nebraska, like I've made a point to in the last I don't know how many years. Man, I was like, okay, so I'm like 36 and a half years old. So that means I started math 23, 24 years old. Dude, I started when I was 23, 24 years old in debt in my parents' basement. And I don't know, the last few years I've kind of taken like creative retreats and trips as a way to spark new collections of art and ideas. Like a lot of times, I'll do art and design or illustrations of kind of one offs here and there if I'm inspired by something or whatever. And I mean, like going to the Badlands, that was a great experience. I've been there a couple, three times or so, and and I'm like, let's make a collection out of it. Let's draw it and let's share my view through art and using the screen printing process to be able to you know show what that looks like in my eyes, I guess. And I mean, hopefully it sticks. Hopefully people like it. And but yeah, going through that process and exploring Nebraska just in general is there, dude. There's a lot of kind of hidden gems. What's that quote? Like Willa Cather says something like, anyone can love the mountains, but like it takes like a soul to love the prairie or something like that. And I mean, dude, that's totally true. You, yeah, go to the mountains, you're gonna love it. Go to the ocean, you're gonna love it. But you got to find those like hidden gems and um, kind of that hard to find type stuff here, especially in kind of the Great Plains and Midwest and Nebraska area. And I don't know, the change of seasons. I mean, Shit, man, that's a trip in itself.
That's right. That's right. I think that that speaks a lot to the people. I like that. The it's easy to love the mountains, but it takes a special person to love Nebraska, and that's very apparent. I mean, man, I'm sure every state has their kind of their state pride and that ingrained, but there is just a feel. It's a feel of like home or something. If I had to boil it down to a word, but it's just Nebraska. It's not necessarily any one feature or any one place or anything, but it's the people, and it's the fact that my dad always said, if you're ever going to have car trouble, you hope it's in small town Nebraska, because like it's no big deal. Like there's going to be people coming out of the woodwork to help you and feed you lunch and a cup of coffee while their cousin fixes your car and gets you on the road. Get you on the road in good shape. So yeah, there's a lot there with Nebraska, and I can see your kind of love for Nebraska as a place in your art. You scroll through your feed, and you've done a really good job of kind of painting that sense of place and harnessing the love and the human aspect of Nebraska, I think too. I was looking, and there's a design that's it's the outline of Nebraska, and then there's a pint of beer kind of built into it, and I was thinking like that, as simple as that design is, it tells a story, and there's no words on it. There's no words on it, and it's mostly two things. It's a cup of beer, and it's the state of Nebraska, but it literally tells a story. And I think that's a lot of your work does that. It's very, very simplistic, and there's a really strong nostalgic feel to it, but it tells a story. And I think that your Badlands stuff does that very well too. And it's like, how could you, if you told somebody they had to make like 4 doodles on a sticky note that like harness all that is the sense of place that is like the Badlands and Deadwood and historic cowboy culture, it'd be like, wow, that's a tall order. But you just like flip through your stuff, and it's like you did it. It's just,
Oh, thanks, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool how simple your stuff is, but how complex it can kind of be. Like it can kind of make you think or feel, maybe not think, it can make you feel that sense of place. And I think
Yeah.
I think a T-shirt or a hoodie is a perfect place for that kind of thing to land, because, I mean, if that was hanging on the wall in some gallery somewhere, like 7 people might see it on a Tuesday, but that's not the case when it's your favorite hoodie.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know. I've always kind of been drawn to kind of that less is more kind of approach. Like, how can I really maximize, you know, a little, a, like a lot to say, but with like visually, without, clutter, like having clutter in like a design or a piece of artwork. One of my favorite designs I did, and honestly, I was like really hesitant to even put it out there, but then I did, and it like blew up. Was the eclipse? If you scroll through like Instagram a little further down, um, it was, how like the eclipse was going from like the western northern point of Nebraska to like the southern. It just like was all Nebraska, and I went out to like that western part of Nebraska. Yeah, that was one of my favorite designs. But it's basically the shape of Nebraska, and I did a stipple effect that made it look like the sun was behind the state, and it was kind of glowing outside of it, and that's all it was. And dude, man, within 2.5 weeks of releasing that, I probably sold 700-800 shirts like by demand, and like people still today are just like, dude, I still have that shirt in my closet, or like I've got a bunch of buddies that are like, dude, I basically have all Littemountain shirts hanging in my closet, sort of thing. And like that, uh, like I'm like, oh, geez, guys, that's awesome, you know? Like I don't know, I just love like the entire process and having a hand in every single detail, from like the idea to creating it. Like I said, too many ideas, not enough time and energy, but that's where like creativity comes in. You got to make that time. You like no one. If you're the boss, dude, you can't sit on your hands and expect other people to do it. You got to just take it and run with it. And that's that kind of Midwestern Nebraska Great Plains kind of, I don't know. There's like a gritty, true, honest feel to I think a lot of the small business entrepreneur creative type people in this part of the country. So I don't know, I see other people. I'm inspired by other people. I like to inspire other people too, man. Like I mean, I just taught myself how to screen print. I just I don't know, I see people who are kind of starting off and just trying to encourage them to kind of go at it, take a risk. You never know what's going to happen. Like, look at me. Like, I'm just a dude doing a thing, man.
Yeah, that's right. That's all any of us are. uh, Man, so what you just said about the people, I've got this thought process that I've kind of held on to for quite some time, and I finally sat down and wrote one iteration of it, and it's probably a pretty condensed version, but it kind of is along the lines of, I guess what put me onto this is as we started needing help with Handlebend, we started looking for help, and you're thinking like graphics and marketing and content and all this stuff, and so you're thinking you need somebody from some company or whatever from Omaha or from Atlanta or Minneapolis or something. You need really well done stuff, and so you got to go there. And we have proven time and time again that we're finding that talent like right here in our hometown. It's literally right in front of us, and I've thought a lot about that. And I think Nebraskans are some of the toughest, and grit is a good word, but also some of the most creative and talented people in the world. And I think about that, and I look at our, the history of Nebraska, and like you said, like there was nothing here. The people that decided to homestead here, like they had to be tough and they had to be resourceful because there was nothing. There's no, water's spotty. Like there was no trees, for God's sakes. They burned buffalo chips to stay warm all winter, And then go forward some generations, and you have these established farms and ranches, and there's not cities every half hour. So you have something break down, like the cattle still need fed or the crops still need harvested, and you got to come up with what you got around you to fix it and keep moving. Kind of hence the old baling wire and duct tape jokes, But I start to think about that, and I look at, so we've had generations of that kind of grit and creativity and have to get it done bred into us, and I think that that's probably a big part of why Nebraskans have started some of the the biggest and best companies in the United States, and we have some of the most creative people, and they're here, and even if they're not necessarily doing it on a big scale, like they're here, and the talent's here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, just being in that, in that bubble of a small business kind of guy, I run into that a lot, and it just blows my mind how many people that like come to me. Like, I mean, yeah, I get a lot of walks of life that need shirts, and that's one way to kind of meet new people and network and kind of learn a little bit more about this or more about that. And yeah, so and that's definitely one like really positive side of running the biz too. So
That's cool. Yep. Always comes back to human beings, man.
Yep, exactly.